Welcome to Dr. Slaton Live, the brain by the ultimate experience. The ultimate experience of what? Well, for years now, I've been studying the crises of drug addiction moving across the country. I've traveled across the country, in other words, using newspapers and visits with people along the way, and observations in specific places where I've had family members. North Carolina, for example, Newark, New Jersey is another example. Seattle is another example. We just gathering information on the crises of self to try to come to terms with the fact that when the brain is not in the lead of the body, bad things happen. So when you look at my literature, I'm saying recover yourself first. That's not being selfish. That's being understanding that your brain is inside your body to help you inform self on what it's going to take to reconnect your sense and receive path functions that have been dummied down due to substance abuse related disorders. So your sensory systems are the first thing to indicate something's wrong. Your sense of feel is absent. You can't care the way that you would like to care because you can't feel things the way that you would like to feel them or that your loved ones would expect you to be able to feel for them. So the crisis of self evolved. And so I keep talking about this because it's all around us. And we keep laughing at people that are really mentally ill inside our environments, like we don't know what to do. We don't know what we're looking at. Yes, well, then ask the question, what's in the lead? Is the body in the lead, the physics of the body? Or are they actually interacting with you intelligently? Intelligently means, are they reflecting on the experience of you? So they have forward feed through signs of, okay, I'm aware of who you are and why I should respect your interaction with me. Or is it dummied down where the physics of their body is trying to persuade you, physical force, persuade you to see things the way they do, because they cannot learn through the crisis of self how to sense and receive the sense of feel for your contact. Crisis of self is absent. So I keep talking about this thing, this dynamic, because I'm researching it. Why isn't the brain the lead of the body? Because we grew up in a behavior system that ignores the brain because of capitalism. Because capitalism is about taking advantage of other people's ignorance. Okay, so when you dummy down your senses, you become more and more vulnerable to psychic, social craps. That's what I'm talking about, the crisis of self. And I'm talking about why so many of our family members fall prey to substance abuse, and then children, drug-related disorders that we don't recognize because we see it as so fluid in our communities. Children that can't read and write. Children that can't sustain positive energy. Children who cannot interact without anger, anxiety. Adults frustrated, disappointed. Why are they disappointed? You can't tell the truth. You can't speak the truth. Why can't? Because then children would know, dang, you're a drug baby. Let's stop it. Let's start the path forward. 2025 should be a path brain on. Brain the lead of the body. Let the brain step forward. And now we need to support the intellectual growth and development because our future is not clear. Take a look around you. Things are becoming more and more chaotic because you can't think through the crisis of self. You have to deal with the crises of you first. So when you pick up my new book, start there. You understand I'm there with you, okay? Firsthand. I have family members, I talk about them inside the book, who have fallen prey to drugs. I have children in my family system who suffer from drug-related disorders all their lives. And their dysfunctions have been ignored because the people around them don't want to speak the truth. So here we go. The brain's body. You can't ignore it. Your sense and receive path functions are designed for you to move through contact, interaction, through levels of cooperation with yourself. Because the desire to live moves through your ability to cooperate through contact with other people and then process the stimuli, no matter whether it's negative or positive, process the reflection, forward feed, handle the brain takes care of that, is what I'm saying. So when you pick up the book, understand what I'm talking about, the recovery of self. How do you recover? How do you recover love? So people go around talking about this, but it's about understanding that you don't want to look back. Why? Because there's too much pain, hurt, and sadness when you look back. But your children need you to look back and explain that behavior to them so they can begin to understand the crisis of self that they're moving through. No, because that's the technology. The technology is that they can recover and improve because it's about learning how to communicate. So when you go to the back of the book, I'm talking about reading to the brain, writing to the brain, acting to the brain, performing to the brain, therapeutic operations of communicating so you can hear your brain, body, and sense messaging. You can sense and feel the discomfort as you move through these brain exercises. Because what are you trying to do? Come to terms with the thought, reflection, and emotion that's coming through you that has to be checked and balanced and then tested. And so when you pick up the book, I'm testing you, you're testing me because you want to know what is the validity of what he's talking about. Well, I'm saying to you, the brain has to be in the lead of the body all the time. Not some of the time, not part of the time, all the time. And why? Because you live in a culture where when you dummy down, it's because you don't want other people to know what you are thinking. So you act like you don't know. Why? Because you come from that type of culture. And so what I'm saying to you is that you have to learn how to stand up and step up to the Christ itself. Because most of us, when we dummy down, it's to fit in with who? People that care about us. And in return, we show care, that's cooperation. That's cooperation. We show they can cooperate, we can cooperate with them. Bring on. So when you turn to this channel and you're wondering, what the heck is he talking about? He's talking about the Christ itself. The Christ that begins before the breath of life. When you're susceptible to drugs while in utero, everything about your constitution can be out of balance. And then as you age into the social system, things begin to come out because they're triggered by environmental influences. And then you begin to have difficulty moving through the emotion, the effect that influences thought and reflection. And because you're doing so poorly, you don't want to look back. You just want to keep moving forward and try to forget that. But you can't, because to look back means I'm searching for understanding of the consequences of what I'm experiencing in the now. And it doesn't matter what your parents were experiencing, your time of recovering you. So you recover you by understanding when you look back, you want to handle that through your process system. So you sense, to feel, to focus your energy, action, and feelings so that everything matters. That's forward feed coming back at you. Thought, reflection, passion. I don't call it emotion. When the brain's working, it's passion. I want to live. I want to learn. I want to think. I want to respond. I want to perform at the highest levels. So that passion comes out of you. And people say, he's so passionate. Other people say, no, he's so emotional. No, he is so passionate because it's been processed. And there's a drive behind that passion that's mental. And everybody can experience it because your body is under control and they're in awe. Did I just see that? Did I just witness that? The brain must be in the lead of the body is what we're talking about today. And I'm trying to let you know that the Christ itself begins before the breath of life, after the breath of life, and during the breath of life. I should have said that differently. Anyway, here we go. Stay tuned. I'll be back shortly. Doc Slaton Live, Brain's Body, New Frontier. Pick up my book, Reflective Storytelling. understanding, brain, body, and sense messaging, the new frontier in self-learning. See, don't be ugly. Don't be ugly on the outside and then even uglier on the inside because you're doing things without a sense of feel and you know it. And so you're affected emotionally because you're not being true to yourself, but you are presenting an image externally of toughness or anger, fear, anxiety, because you don't want people to know what's really happening to you. So you resist contact. And when you resist contact, it's through physical imagery that paints an ugly picture of you as being annoyed by the other person's interest in making contact with you. And instead of showing signs of care, you show signs of discontent because you're in crises and you don't know how to move through the crisis of self because you're hiding. You're hiding because you don't want anyone to know that really you care and how much you care. Now, that's the frustration. Now, where does that come from? That's what I'm talking about. The reflection. That's where I want you to be able to look back and begin to study self in relation to other people to come to terms with what's really going on inside of you. No, we're talking about a therapeutic intervention so that you can begin to make more positive contact interaction with the people around you that you know are on your team. Because when you live ugly, they get ugly too. So you have ugliness all around you, and everybody's in this trap of negativity, negative energy trying to say it's okay. And children growing up thinking it's okay to be ugly. It's not. It is self-imposed terror because you got to maintain this nasty behavior pattern moving forward to validate, okay, but do you know you're hiding? No, because it depends on who's who. Because if you're a victim of someone else's social modeling, you're modeling a behavior pattern that you never experienced, but you're moving through it as though this is what you experienced when in fact it isn't. It's what was imposed on you by the physics of another person. That's why I talk about the neurophysical self, because you want to move through the physics of your body and into the neurophysics of your brain so that your brain is on and working to reduce that negative influences of you observing the physics of self. Your state of mind, for example, your identity, the negative identity that's imposed, self-imposed, that I'm saying you send out through social modeling that impacts other people. Bullying, teasing, peer pressure, gang assimilation, all falls under the sense of self. Projection. You're in a room and this person is in there just physically demanding everybody do exactly what they want to be done. That's a negative sense of self that's not cooperative and interactive to the feedback from other people. They don't want to look back. They want to look forward because they caught up in a crisis. And if they look back, they got to deal with the fact, I don't care, or I really do care, and that's why I feel the way I feel, because I really care, but I can't show anybody I care because I think I don't think. No, you have problems thinking. No, that's what the Christ self is. It's when you have problems thinking because you don't want to reflect. What do you think reflecting is? It's reflecting through thought of the past. Okay? And you're stuck in that thought in the past because you refuse to let it go and move on. And when you don't move on, you carry that baggage with you into the next contact interaction. So the same thing happens all over again. Okay, so why keep doing the same thing over and over again? That's the crisis of self. Because your sense and receive path functions are static. There's no neural processing taking place because the body is in control of the brain. Your states of mind are framed thought that you refuse to let go of. So when someone makes contact with you, that same reaction, not reaction. You're reacting. They're sending out that same charge. So a person can predict, if you go talk to Joey's just going to curse you out. No, that's a reflection because it's a static behavior pattern. It's a defense mechanism against you can't make me look back or understand what's going on with me. I like me the way I am. Okay. And that's the problem with social modeling. This other person thinks that's cool, but they ain't got that other baggage to go along with it. You may have principles behind your behavior, but when you give it to somebody else, they don't have those same principles. So it's worse. So ugly gets worse externally. So your children are worse than you are because they don't have that balance to know this is why I'm the way I am. They're just the way you taught them to be, trained them to be. Okay? Social model. Brain must be in the lead of the body because the brain is a social mechanism tool that functions socially to reduce stress and anxiety on you. Speak the truth, because that's what you got to get to. You got to begin to understand how to talk to your own brain. Okay? Brain on. Dr. Slaton Live, check this out.